Welcome back to the fourth video in our series. The science team is excited to document our trip to the Galápagos Islands. We're anxious to hear from Jaime, our expert guide. He'll provide greater understanding to what we've been studying for the better part of a year. Today, our excursion will be to Española, the oldest, driest, and southeasternmost island of the archipelago. Two spots are especially popular: Gardner Bay with its sandy beach, and Suarez Point because of its unique bird life. We will start with a dry landing at Punta Suarez. Jaime recommended sturdy shoes to be worn because we will be walking on volcanic rock most of the day. I think I made a mistake in filming today. Jaime took the microphone and started non-stop teaching. It was difficult to keep up with him and the science team as they took off exploring.
So we're talking about mockingbirds now, the 4 species that we have in the Galapagos. This hood mockingbird actually is present only in this island, but a few miles we have Floriana, we have the Charles mockingbird, and that mockingbird just escaped from the island. It used to live in Floriana, but now it just escaped to a little islet. So we have a Champion and Enderby islets, and it's actually a very small area for them, and they escaped because they introduced animals. So too many introduced animals, that's the island that before we used to have tortoises, and now they are staying on that place. So that was the first capital of the Galapagos. Now the Darwin Foundation, together with the National Park, they are trying to clean the island of those introduced species, and they did with the goats, with pigs. Sure. And now the next step is trying to reintroduce the mockingbirds into the island to just reproduce on that place, because kind of a small area where they live, and it's dangerous that they can disappear. Around here, look at that. This is what happened. That's the behavior that they have. Normally there is one boss, and is in charge of the security, all the group around here. So this is a hood mockingbird. So we're not going to see this behavior in other place. So it is unique for this island, the behavior of the mockingbirds. And something here, we have the marine iguanas over there, and the marine iguanas, they don't produce sounds. No sound. So they don't know if something dangerous happened. They cannot communicate each other. You know what I mean? So so what I do in here on this particular island, they learn the mockingbird language. So the mockingbirds, when they are around here and they see a hawk, they produce different sounds. And the iguanas also, they start to run at the same time because they listen and the mockingbird sounds. It's only on this island. We have a big trunk over here, and we don't produce this kind of trunks here in the Galapagos, so it probably come from the mainland. And this is how the species arrive to the islands, in trunks like this. So the animals arrives, and actually, if all the vegetation that you see around here and all the animals, they come from one place. So all the species that come from the mainland, probably from South America, Central America, and around here the vegetation also arrive on the most of them and on birds. So we have almost 50% of the vegetation arrive on birds, and the rest just they float by themselves, like mangroves, like other trees. And this is one of the trunks. Actually, sometimes this floats, and the snakes and iguanas, they are able to float, on those trunks and arrive to the Galapagos in that way. The sand around here is also organic. and it's not so fine like the sand that we're going to find it this afternoon. So around here, still like yesterday, so we can see some little pieces of shells and sea urchins, but this afternoon is really very fine because we have exposed to the waves all the time.
Normally, marine iguanas are black in color. A subspecies was found on Española that appear almost festive. These are normally a reddish shade and turn green during mating season.
Too close?
Hey, Kevin, not too close. It's supposed to be 2 meters.
This natural camouflage makes it difficult for predators to differentiate between the black lava rocks and the iguanas.
All right, a few minutes and let's go.
Yeah, no problem.
Is it
We
right?
have now time.
Okay, good.
So you come on this side and get the front.
You see along the coast, you can see those black and white birds. Those are Nazca Boobies. In other places, they tell about them mask boobies. But over here is a subspecies. You got the blue-footed booby here flying. So the Nazca Boobies, they are the biggest in all the Galapagos. So this is why they cannot lay the eggs. They cannot nest inside the bushes, like a blue-footed booby we saw yesterday. So they need a cliff to take off. So this is why along the cliff, we're going to see only Nazca Boobies, because it's very easier for them to take off from that place. And they lay on top of this stones area, and we can see that nest over there with a lot of stones around there. So that's another protection that they have, close the excrements around the nest, which is really good because some other parasites are not going to pass this excrements area. That's a protection for them. So they lay 2 eggs, and actually 2 babies come out, but the first baby is going to survive. Normally they don't have food for 2 babies, so only for 1. And this is why the baby, the stronger, is going to spool out of the nest to the brother, and also father and mother are going to fit in only 1 baby, and only 1 baby is going to survive. So all this place is amazing because every species has its own area. We can see the Albatross in one place, the Nazca Boobies in one place, blue-footed boobies in another place. So they don't compete for this space, which is really good. This one around here, the vegetation is not so big like San Cristobal. Around here is just bushes. And of course, this is why the animals that live over here, they need to be adapted to survive on this land. This is the case of the giant tortoises. We have giant tortoises on this island. We are not going to be able to see them because they live around the other side of the Highgate area. But the giant tortoises that live on this place also, they are the smallest because not too much food. Around here we can see a green vegetation, but this is going to change in 45 days. It's going to disappear, the green vegetation, and we're going to have just dry. And actually those tortoises that live over here, they are small, really. They are smaller, and the shape of the shell is completely different. So we call the saddlebag shell. It's only on this island where we have the smallest, because the conditions of the island is not really good for more plants, you know.
Wow. As we pass another tour group, we need a few minutes to gather our thoughts on what we have seen and heard today. The trail leads to a cliff overlooking the ocean, where the team will witness an unexpected sight in just a few minutes. The Living Science team, with Michael's help, navigates the steep rocks and reflects on how fascinating it is to discover such a diverse array of endemic species on this relatively remote island in the Galapagos. We have already encountered some of these species, including the wave albatross, Nazca and blue-footed boobies, and the mockingbirds. We could never forget the sea lions, which seem to be everywhere. It is fascinating to realize that Española is the only place on Earth where the huge wave albatross, with wingspans of 7 feet, come every year to breed and nest. Amazingly, one marine iguana on this island is recognized as the only species of red and green iguana in the world, which is why they call it the Christmas iguana. This pause in Jaime's non-stop teaching offers us a chance to reflect on our observations of Española. The science team was asking questions, taking notes, and listening. Española Island, also known as Hood Island, is the southernmost and one of the oldest islands in the Galapagos archipelago. Waves crash against a vast expanse of rock, creating the renowned blowhole known as El Sopládor. Española is an example of the complete life cycle of a volcanic island in the Galapagos, from its explosive origin to its gradual decline. The island was initially formed over the Galapagos volcanic hotspot near the current location of Fernandina Island in the western part of the archipelago. Looking back across the expanse of Española and where we've hiked today, successive underwater eruptions and uplifts elevated the volcano above the ocean's surface. Tectonic drift gradually moved Española eastward, away from the active hotspot, leading to the volcano's extension. The science team watches this natural wonder as waves surge into a lava tube, spraying water and air nearly 98 feet into the sky, creating an impressive display, especially during high tide. The island's flat and low-lying appearance evidences its gradual submergence back into the ocean from which it originated. This fate ultimately awaits all the islands in the Galapagos, while new islands will continue to form at the hotspot.
So this group, this island, these 4 islands like Española, Floriana, Santa Fe, and also San Cristobal, they are dying. So they are moving underwater now. The plate, the Nazca plate, is moving to the east about 3 inches every year. So this is moving the islands to the continent, but also they are coming under the continental plate. So in the future, this island is going to be the first island that is going to disappear from the Galapagos. You know, it's going to go underwater. We have the Humboldt current that comes from the south, and arrive about 600 miles to the south of the Galapagos. You know, Humboldt current do not arrive to the Galapagos. So it just arrive 600 miles to the south, and we have an influence of Humboldt current, but it's not arriving directly. But we have all these nutrients that come from the south, arrive to the Galapagos, and actually this is why this spot is very nice for seabirds. We're not going to see tomorrow in Floriana, it's not going to be nothing compared like this. So no animals around that part, just different things over there. But actually we're going to have a colonies like this. So it's nice to see here reptiles together with mammals around this place, and also the same thing with the nice crabs in the distance. Those red crabs over there are really nice. The big ones are females, very careful, and the little dark and the smaller are males around here. So along the coast, in all the Galapagos, we have this kind of crab, Actually, they are protected by law, so no, we cannot eat those crabs. It's really very good because it's really nice colors around here. And also look at the mockingbirds. A lot of mockingbirds, they eat everything. They eat insects, they eat plants, they eat dead animals, the dead skin of the lizards, of the iguanas, and also the some bugs, parasites around here. This area here, it's a lot of waves, and with the waves we have oxygen. So this is why we have the group of iguanas that you saw over there. For them, it's very easy to come into this area to eat algae. And the same thing around the other side of the bay, we have big waves, and this is why they have a really big clothes to hold on the rocks when the waves coming in.
Returning to the Punta Suarez landing, we had a surprise encounter with the Galapagos Hawk. I'm not sure who was more afraid of whom, but it wasn't wise to press my luck when he seemed a little nervous. Let me get back to the boat quietly. Back on board the Galaxy, the team was served lunch while the boat traveled to the other side of the island. After lunch, some of us snorkeled in Gardner Bay and swam with the sea lions. We started filming on the beach to help the science team feel at ease while sharing their knowledge about the islands on camera. As mentioned before, these science students have been working on a year-long project studying the Galápagos Islands. If you missed the first episode of this video series, it might be a good idea to rewatch it to see how this trip began. If you watch video 1, you'll understand what we mean when we say this is not a documentary, a travelogue, or a video series. It's all those things.
Guys, are we having the trip of a lifetime or what?
Yes!
Where are we?
We are in the Galápagos Islands, 600 miles off the coast of Ecuador.
And who discovered the Galapagos Islands?
The Spanish were the first to discover and map the islands in the mid-1500s. The islands were then made famous by the famous mapping trip by Sir Charles Darwin.
Exactly. Now, precisely where are we? I mean, the Galapagos Islands is a big place, right?
Currently, we're on Española Island, which is the southernmost island in the Galapagos.
However, we are standing on Gardner Bay Beach beside a very, very large colony of sea lions.
Yes, they look like rocks, but you're right, there are lots and lots of them out there. What else have we seen on this island that's endemic to this island?
We have seen the waved albatrosses, and the reason they're called the waved albatross is because on their wings, on the lower half of their wings, they have gray wavy lines.
Yes, we saw waved albatross, but what else did we see lying on the ground that weighed a half a pound?
The waved albatross egg.
That was really quite unusual for us to see that, wasn't it? But that's not the only thing that we saw that's unique to this island. We saw something you've studied. What did we see?
The Nazca Booby. The Nazca Booby is most known for its practice of siblicide.
Sounds pretty rough, doesn't it? But I suppose that given that the two birds wouldn't survive, it's not such a bad thing. Bea, you really like the Nazca Boobies, don't you?
I like all boobies, but the Nazca Booby has such a funny nest. It gets little rocks and it makes a little nest on the ground.
And it lays 2 eggs.
Just 2.
Just 2.
You know, the nests that we saw today for the Nazca Boobies look kind of like they were on rocks just like those over there, you know, the geologic uplift. Is that basaltic rock?
That's exactly what it is, Kevin. That is basaltic rock, volcanic rock.
So here in the Galapagos, those kind of stacks of rocks we see were formed by geological plate shifting, right?
That's correct. It's not volcanic ash that's hardened, it's the movement of the plates.
Okay.
You know, I am seeing the clouds coming in. I'm wondering if we would be wise to wrap this up and come back and do some more tomorrow. What do you all think?
I think so.
Yes.
Probably good. Don't want to be caught in the rain.
I'm standing here on one of God's most beautiful beaches. This is a white beach on Gardner Beach or Gardner Cove, and it's actually on Española. With me is Dr. Georgia Purdom, a research scientist from AIG. Dr. Purdom, have you had any fun and wonderful experiences today?
Yes, very much so. I think one of the highlights for me was just seeing all the different boobies that we saw on Española here.
Yes, we've seen a couple of different ones. Which ones have we seen, and are these different species?
Well, today we got to see the blue-footed booby and the Nazca booby, and they are separate species, and we hope to be able to also see the red-footed booby as well.
That will be a lot of fun. It's interesting to me how these are on specific islands. Isn't that really fun?
Yes, it's amazing. From some initial colonizations, we don't know how many originally came to the islands, but they've adapted to their varying environments, and so it's pretty amazing. All that information is there. It's just expressed depending on what the environment's like.
You say that so eloquently. I think for me, seeing the blue-footed booby doing its mating dance was just incredible. You read about this kind of thing, and then when you see it, that's just spectacular. How do they get blue feet?
Well, they get the blue feet from the carotenoids that they take in through their diet. So it's kind of like gives a pigment, so to speak, helps them make the blue color. And what they do is they actually divert it to their feet. So that it shows up. And the bluer the feet, the more attractive that is to the female. And it's actually a sign of health as well, because the more food they're taking in, the bluer the feet get. So it's a sign to the female that this is a very healthy male that she would want to mate with.
That's very interesting. That reminds me of some other animals that actually get their coloration from their food intake. For example, the flamingos. Right. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes, the pinker they are, it's because it has to do with the whatever's in their food that they're eating, that they're able to take that in and be pinker.
Didn't you just think it was amazing how the male would do this dance and then make a noise and the female would answer?
Yes, it's amazing. You see why they got the name Boobies, because it just kind of looks like a person with big clown feet kind of trying to walk around, and it's kind of awkward, but yet to them, I mean, that's their courtship ritual, their courtship dance, and so God has designed them amazingly with this ability to interact with one another like this.
Now, I didn't see the Nazca Boobies doing that. Do they do the same thing?
No, not that I'm aware of. They do more, it seems like, with the beaks. That's what I was observing. It seemed like they kind of open their beaks up and kind of interlock their beaks to a degree. So it's different. Even though they're both the same genus, there's a lot of variety there.
So now we've got to look forward to seeing the red-footed boobies, and we'll wonder what that does. I think it's amazing that we are here during mating season for so many of these birds. Mm-hmm. Well, I hope that you'll stick close by me on these walks because I love learning from you. Thank you so much.
Hey, Lily, can you tell us about all these sea lions that we're seeing here?
Yes, there are 2 main types of sea lions on the Galapagos Islands. There's the fur seal, which is called a seal, but it really is a sea lion. And then there's the Galapagos sea lion, which we see behind us.
Yes, for many years they said that the Galapagos sea lion was a California sea lion, but recent genetic studies have actually shown that it is its own species.
Yeah, I was reading about that in my book. It calls them the Galapagos sea lions now. It also talks about some ways to identify between the differences. I think one of them was that there are a lot different sizes. You know, the fur seals, which are actually sea lions, are much smaller than the Galapagos sea lion we see here. Also, noticeable is the external ear on the Galapagos fur seal, as opposed to the less obvious and more internal ear of the Galapagos sea lion.
The Galaxy's captain informed us that we'd be traveling west to Fernandina Island, departing around 8 p.m. and continuing through the night until approximately 6 a.m. tomorrow. Our itinerary stated that breakfast would be at 7, followed by a wet landing at 8. Let's get some sleep.